The plane was cruising at 35,000 feet when everything suddenly went wrong. Alarms blared, and the passengers' panic filled the cabin. No one expected the calm voice over the intercom. It wasn't the captain. Not exactly. She was just another pilot on the roster. Yet at that moment, she became the only person who could save everyone on board. With the engines faltering and a storm brewing below, she made a bold decision, an unauthorized landing. Every second mattered, and every move she made was a calculated risk. The passengers had no idea that their survival depended on someone breaking every rule in the book. As she navigated the aircraft through turbulence and near-impossible maneuvers, something extraordinary happened in the skies above. F-22 fighter jets appeared, not to threaten, but to communicate a secret she never thought would be revealed. Who were they, and why did they know her name, her call sign, her history? Questions raced through her mind even as she focused on bringing the plane down safely. The tension was unbearable, the stakes higher than ever, and one revelation was about to change everything. Forever. What happened next would shock everyone on board and reveal the truth. No one saw coming. No one on the plane knew her full story. She had trained for years in silence, quietly mastering skills that few could even imagine. Most saw her as an ordinary pilot, someone who followed rules and procedures without question. But beneath that calm exterior was a history no one expected at past, filled with secret missions, coded operations, and skills honed under extreme pressure. It wasn't something she shared, not with family, friends, or colleagues. And yet, today, those hidden talents were the only things standing between life and disaster. The F-22s, flying in formation above, weren't just a coincidence. Their presence hinted at connections she had long kept buried. Why were they here now, during her most critical moment? As she maneuvered the plane closer to the stormy runway, flashes of her past raced through her mind. Early missions, encrypted communications, moments where trust had been everything and mistakes were fatal. Each memory reminded her that she had been trained to survive under pressure. But nothing could fully prepare her for the eyes watching from above. Passengers clutched their seats, unaware of the invisible battle unfolding in the skies. Every choice she made now carried consequences far beyond the cockpit, and as the jets hovered, signaling something only she could understand, one question loomed. Was this landing the end, or just the beginning of a secret that could change everything? The plane shuddered as she guided it through the thick clouds, each jolt sending a wave of fear through the passengers. In the cabin, people whispered, praying, some gripping the armrests so tightly their knuckles went white. They had no idea that the woman at the controls was making split-second decisions that went far beyond a pilot's normal responsibilities. Every adjustment she made, every throttle shift, was a calculated attempt to keep them alive while avoiding disaster on the ground. Meanwhile, the F-22s moved with precision overhead, their presence both protective and mysterious. She could read their signals, tiny maneuvers that told her she wasn't alone, but she also sensed caution. Whoever was in those cockpits knew things she didn't, and their silence weighed heavily. She remembered the last time she had seen their insignia, years ago, on a mission that had gone wrong. The memory brought both dread and determination. In the cabin, a young flight attendant tried to calm panicked passengers, but even her practiced smile faltered as turbulence rocked the plane. Back in the cockpit, communications buzzed with static and coded warnings she could barely decipher. Someone in authority was tracking her every move, but she couldn't tell if they were friend or foe. The landing was close, the storm relentless, and one wrong choice could turn the daring rescue into catastrophe. The stakes were higher than ever, and the secret she carried threatened to be exposed in ways she wasn't ready for. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the tense faces in the cabin for a brief, blinding second. She tightened her grip on the controls, feeling the plane shudder with every gust of wind. Outside, the F-22s circled like silent guardians, their sleek forms cutting through the storm, yet their presence only added to the pressure. Every move she made was scrutinized. Every decision carried the weight of lives she couldn't afford to lose. Sweat dripped down her temple as alarms blared, signaling another critical system failing. Her mind raced through every procedure she had drilled 1,000 times. Yet this was nothing like training. This was real, with passengers' lives hanging by a thread, and no margin for error. The thought of their fear pushed her forward, focusing her instincts sharper than ever. In the cabin, cries and whispers collided with the roar of engines and thunder. The young flight attendant struggled to keep everyone calm, glancing toward the cockpit with hope and anxiety. Meanwhile, signals from the F-22s grew urgent, a series of maneuvers that only she could interpret. Their silent warning hinted at a secret far greater than the storm or the failing engines, a revelation that could change everything. The truth she had hidden for years. The runway loomed ahead, shrouded in rain and mist. She could feel the climax of the ordeal building, every second stretching into eternity. One final decision, one wrong move, and the daring rescue could spiral into disaster. And above it all, the secret hovering in the skies waited to be revealed, just as she aligned the plane with the barely visible runway. A new alarm blared, this one sharper, more insistent. She glanced at the instruments and froze. Fuel levels were dropping faster than expected, far below critical limits. Panic threatened to rise, but she forced it down, focusing on calculations she barely had time to process. Every second now mattered more than ever. Then, from the corner of her eye, she noticed one of the F-22's brake formation, diving low and fast toward the storm. It wasn't a routine maneuver. Her heart pounded. Something had changed, and the situation had just become even more dangerous. Why was the jet braking formation? Was it a warning, or a signal she couldn't yet interpret? The sudden unpredictability made the stakes skyrocket in the cabin. Passengers sensed the shift in tension, their whispers turning into urgent murmurs. The young flight attendant gripped the intercom, ready to reassure, but even her comm faltered. Back in the cockpit, the static on the radio transformed into a faint, distorted voice. Someone who knew her secret. Someone who had been watching her every move for reasons she couldn't yet understand. The storm raged. The runway drew closer, and now an unseen threat in the skies above added another layer of danger. One wrong move could cost everything, and the secret she carried once hidden was on the verge of exploding into the open. The climax was coming, faster and more unpredictable than she could have imagined. The plane touched down with a violent jolt, tires screeching against the rain-slick runway. Inside, passengers clutched their seats, some letting out shaky cries of relief, others frozen in disbelief. She kept her hands steady on the controls, refusing to exhale until the aircraft slowed to a complete stop. The storm raged around them, but for a brief moment, survival had been claimed. The F-22s hovered above, then descended to signal approval. She understood at last the jets had been guiding her, responding to skills only a handful in the world possessed. Her secret life, the mission she had hidden for years, had been recognized, and in that recognition lay both validation and danger. She had broken protocol, risked everything, and saved countless lives. But now the consequences she had long avoided were catching up. As ground crews rushed forward and passengers scrambled to safety, a commotion erupted on the tarmac. One of the F-22 pilots emerged from the storm, walking toward her with a knowing look. Before she could react, he handed her an encrypted device with coordinates and a message. "This isn't over. They know you're the one." Her heart sank. The immediate danger was over, but the secret she thought safe had now become a beacon drawing attention she could not ignore. The plane was still, the passengers safe, but the skies held a new, hidden threat. And now, she realized, the real mission was only just beginning. The storm finally began to ease, leaving the runway wet but safe, and passengers slowly began to realize they had survived a near-impossible ordeal. Faces once filled with panic now showed relief and gratitude. She stepped out of the cockpit, exhausted but resolute, and was met with a mix of applause and tearful smiles. The young flight attendant, who had kept everyone calm, hugged her tightly, whispering, "You saved us all." It was a moment that reminded her why she had trained so hard. Why she had hidden her past. It had all led to this act of courage. As the F-22s vanished into the clouds, she reflected on the day's events. Her secret life, once buried, had been exposed, but in doing so, it had proven her skills and bravery. She realized that being prepared, staying calm under pressure, and trusting herself were the keys to survival. Not just in the air, but in life. Passengers were safe. The plane was secured, and yet the device left by the mysterious pilot hinted at future challenges. She knew her life would never be the same, but for now, the gratitude in the cabin and the knowledge that she had made the right choices were enough. Sometimes, courage meant breaking rules, facing the unknown, and trusting that even the wildest risks could save lives. The mission was over, but her story and the impact she left